welcome to Destination I Do's podcast. I'm your host, Jennifer Stein, and today we are answering all your destination wedding hair and makeup questions. And I have the distinct pleasure of an expert guest, Lauren Shea. She is a luxury destination beauty artist. She is a global boutique artist. She has worked with different editorial brands, Fashion Week, does production on hair and makeup as far as stylists and all the things. You also are a national L'Oreal professional artist. Welcome to the show. I'm so excited to unpack all these wonderful things. And you've been in business 15 years?
Yes, a long career. It's wild to think it's been that long already, but
When did you start? When you were 11, maybe?
probably. No, you compliment.
Well, and it sounds like your grandmother also, she was in the same industry for 64 years.
Yes, and to be honest, she still does a few of her little clients. She's got kind of like a studio attached to her home, so she still work. I mean, she's like retired, but she still has a few of her little ladies, and she's like, I love seeing them and giving them coffee. I mean, some of these clients she's had for like 30, 40, 50 years where they're just friends now. So it's
Oh my
been fun to
gosh.
follow steps in the same industry.
Okay, I have to ask, is it literally like a Steel Magnolias like episode with like Dolly Parton and all, like and if you don't know that reference, please go watch the movie. It's phenomenal. And
I'm not that young. I love it so much. I mean, they have literally I cut some of my bio down, over the years, but I used to have in there like I grew up sitting on the counter in her beauty shop. So
oh
yeah,
my God, that's adorable.
so
She
cute.
must be so proud of you.
She is. She's very proud, and she always says, "I hope that get to do this as long as I have." And I'm like, Mima, I do not want to be doing hair and makeup. I like she's in her mid 80s now. It's like I want to be retired by then, but that's what I think now. But yeah,
You're like, I need to be like sipping a pink drink by the pool when I'm 85, like not, like over a shampoo bowl anymore.
loves it. I mean, it's her friends now, and she's like I said, retired, so it's not work for her. But anyways, it's
That
fun.
is so sweet. I love that. And I love that her name, like you call her Mima. Like that's pretty adorable. Gotta love the grandmas, man. Giving love to the grandmas. Okay, so listener, Lauren and I actually met in Ireland at a workshop, and that's how we got to know one another. And Lauren, tell us a little bit about like your participation in the workshop because it wasn't just educational from a business standpoint. You guys were also creating some content that was pretty fabulous, and you'll probably be seeing sooner than later on Destination I Do.
Yeah, I'm actually anxiously awaiting details for that. But it was a really incredible opportunity. Just so serendipitous in how everything unfolded and the connections and the trip. And I think as you and I have shared, the fallout of that and the processing of everything of what went on was just so incredible, way more than what I think I expected. So I actually was able to do hair and makeup for the editorial shoot that we did there. And it was really fun to just work with these really high-end professionals in our industry. All just had such creative vision. The attention to detail was amazing, which is so helpful. And just really worked collaboratively to create something so beautiful. And it was really fun because, personally in my career, I'm hired by a bride, for instance, for hair and makeup. So I'm most likely doing what they're bringing, as far as their
Mhm.
vision. So this was really a fun spin on that to be able to create that. We did a couple different looks for hair and makeup from a, ceremony to an actual like after dinner reception type look and changed her dress as well. So it was just a really fun collaborative creation. And I really enjoyed it. I'm excited to see all the footage and photos and content that we have. So
Well, and it was in Ireland. Like it was such an amazing experience, just for those of you that are like, what's a wedding workshop? It was kind of an educational experience for all of us, but also immersive in the sense that we got to experience Ireland together. I mean, we went on a carriage ride through Killarney and like just saw some of the most beautiful landscapes you can imagine. Got to stay in this place called the Cahernan House Hotel, and it was just this like manor that dates back to like the 1600s or something. It's like unbelievable. So we kind of had this in the destination wedding industry. We get to do some education things and also create content, which is lovely when you get to be on both sides of that to, get to learn things, but then also create something magical as a group and just do it for the fun of doing it. Not just fun, but like obviously we're wanting to inspire couples to, mimic the different things that we put out there. And so that's basically what you guys all collaborated to do. So stay tuned for that when you guys hopefully are going to get to see it sooner than later. But okay, enough about that. We've got some hard-hitting questions that I also would love to know about. So you've been in the business 15 years. So you've seen some serious swings in style and beauty. What are some of the biggest things you've seen? And like, what are some of the things you've loved and loathed?
Yeah, absolutely. I think what has ruined so much of beauty for me is social media, unfortunately.
Yeah.
The strength and the benefit and the pros to it is incredible for so many reasons, but when it comes to the actual vision that, a bride might bring in, it's pretty detrimental. You're
Oh.
photos of like filtered looks, right? You're seeing photos of like the tone of the hair or different things that are changed and altered, and it's just not
Mhm.
realistic. And so, when you have an unrealistic item brought to you and you have to kind of be the bearer of bad news sometimes, that part has been really hard.
Mhm.
It's amazing to be able to have like the plethora of items now where it's not just magazine based as it used to be maybe 15 years ago, or just people would bring in like a printout from their Google search on a piece of white paper from their printer. So it's nice to have quick reference points at some point, but the thing that I always love to kind of communicate to my brides and or to people that I coach or our team is they're great tools to use for the looks, but then let's take those things what you love, and then working with my expertise, let's tailor that to you. So
Mhm.
I've learned how to kind of flip it and switch it, but it's just there's been so much like overdone and just so much with the lips and the filters and just the heavy makeup, a lot of like overly mattified things. And
Mhm.
so what's really transitioning a lot this year and even more into 2025 for things that I'm loving or really excited about is kind of coming back down to like who we really are, our realistic skin, what we look like, not what we're trying to look like, right?
Mhm.
Hollywood now, Pamela Anderson, you see huge names like Alicia Keys, Jennifer Garner, they're all starting this more like no makeup trend. And
Mhm.
truly, it's a timeless look, not necessarily that we have to go with no makeup, but just bringing it back down to who we really are. And I think brides generally will be so much happier in the long run with just looking like themselves, but just refreshed,
Mhm.
polished and just soft and beautiful, and something that's not, it's a timeless look, like I said. So it's not like, 5, 10, 15 years down the road, you're like, gosh, that looks terrible. It was a trendy look, right?
Yeah.
And I do a lot of work, across seas. So in high fashion places like Milan or London for fashion weeks, we have Paris and then New York. And outside of the US, especially when we're talking about destination weddings, it's not really common to do all this heavy, heavy makeup. And so I love that that's kind of coming back in. I love that it's the dewiness, the glowy, it just looks healthy, and well rested. And just kind of takes all of what our brides have, whether it's their eyes, their skin, their lips, whatever it is, and just enhances that and
Mhm.
makes them just look way more beautiful and like a timeless classic look. So I'm very excited about that.
I love that. And I think honestly, I could not agree with you more. I remember there's been a couple instances where I know the bride and groom really well. And I know her to be just kind of like not heavy makeup naturally. And then on the wedding day, I almost don't recognize her. Like if it's just so heavy-handed and so like it's like, oh man, like you don't even look like yourself. Like to me, what a real artist is going to do is enhance your natural beauty, right? So to have these like giant eyelashes where you can't even see the color of your eyes, like that is, and hey, if that is your vibe, I am not here to squash it. Like if you love that and that's how you show up in the world, like I am not hating on it. But what I am saying is like to Lauren's point, look like yourself, right? Like look like, you're the best version of yourself because these pictures are going to last forever, right? They're the thing that you have to hold on to after the vows are said and to show up and look like a completely different version of you, I feel like can sometimes be a regret for a lot of people.
Absolutely. And the other thing that I've found so much is how much, the layers and the makeup and all of what they're adding actually ages somebody too. And
Yeah.
so obviously we're all trying to look, you know, better. And so that's been another disappointment, honestly. I mean, the whole concept of less is more really is true. It really is
Mhm.
true. So I'm very excited about that.
Yeah.
Um, the lot they have like latte look or like this ballerina pink. It's just color. It's like a little color. It's just enhancing everything, and
Yeah.
it'll be. I'm excited to see where we go with it this next year. So
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so our couples are planning a destination wedding, and many are kind of weighing the options of working with someone in their destination, where others might feel more confident bringing their beauty artist along with them. What would you tell these couples that are kind of trying to figure out what makes the most sense for them? Like, what are some of the pros and cons you see with either hiring someone in their destination or bringing the person that they've worked with forever along with them?
totally. So as far as like pros and cons, let's get the negative things out the way. Um, I
Bad
feel like
news first.
yeah, that is first, and then we'll end on a good note. I feel like it is already a challenge when you're choosing a destination wedding and a handful of things, but then you're also like winning in some ways, right? So when you're starting with a wedding and you decide to do destination, you're under that impression that like, okay, well, there's going to be some tricky parts to this. So the biggest thing is research, obviously making sure that you have a great wedding planner or coordinator for the whole event that's going to be able to if you're trying to hire someone in that area, they'll be able to work with you to find trusted sources, people they've worked with, that they've vetted, that they can recommend. That's why you're paying them, right? Like that's your step in that right direction. And I think that there can be some really great experiences overall with that. I also just feel like there's more challenges than not.
Mhm.
I think it's so important to be able to work with someone who you've built a relationship with. A lot of my brides, through the process of looking for beauty for weddings, they find me and end up working with me prior to the wedding, developing that relationship, and then kind of become clients after as well. And so I think the biggest thing is trust. And I think that's really hard with someone new.
Mhm.
It's definitely a possibility. Again, like if you're able to work with the right planners and you have the right people, you can definitely end up with some great situations. In that box, making sure that you're asking the right questions, that you are asking for portfolio work, that you're really overly communicating what it is your vision is, what you're going for, and all of that. Because some people who aren't quite as experienced don't know the right questions to ask. And then at the
Mm.
end of the day, you just kind of get a result that you're not happy with. So,
Yeah.
able to bring someone like myself on or along with you, it creates a whole custom experience, to your point of, costs or dash and just kind of like weighing everything, you're not going to really remember what like appetizer you had or some of the other details of like the flower that costs $5 extra an arrangement versus, I'm saying those little things. It's like if you're going to cut corners, cut it where it's in the long run, 15, 20 years down the road, you're not going to remember those tiny details, but you will remember how you felt on your wedding day with how you looked, and then obviously the photos to take along with it. So I think it's really important to be able to hire someone that you could bring along and create that experience for you. So a lot of times these destination weddings are having like a welcome dinner, a rehearsal dinner, an event here. So you can have someone tailored to be able to make you look beautiful and feel great the whole time, versus like just that wedding day, and really creating an entire look and making your vision come to life versus something that maybe you had in mind and it's not quite there, or you look completely different for 1, 2, 3 days before than you do on the wedding. So it definitely helps for like a very cohesive experience, all your photos and just the professionalism of it. I think will make a difference when you really are able to work with someone from kind of like beginning or preview through the whole process. When you find these professionals, they're really able to make your vision come to life. And I think that's the whole point of a destination wedding, is to be able
Yeah.
to like dream of something and then see all those pieces fall into place. So
Agreed. And I would also add, like, if you have no choice but to, use someone in your destination, let's say, maybe it's just logistically too difficult to bring someone along, or, whatever the case may be. One thing I would say is, if you plan to do a scouting trip, make sure you do a hair and makeup trial during that scouting trip. Like, build that into like a day of like a spa day or something like that, so that you can, have some fun and enjoy your destination and the planning portion of things, but also like at least start that. Because like what Lauren's saying is, like, it's hard to cultivate trust if you're just meeting someone for the first time. So if you're able to meet them, during a scouting trip, and start building that trust and rapport and make some tweaks and give some feedback, that might be a good alternative if you can't bring someone along with you. So what are some, I know we're talking about minimalist makeup and that definitely being something that you're loving seeing. But even with minimalist makeup, there are certain people that are like, nope, I'm a chapstick girl. I'm chapstick. Like, I don't wear anything at all. That, even with that being said, like, any makeup's going to feel heavy to them. So what are some ways or tips that you have for brides that they just feel they're most comfortable with the finished product if they aren't used to using and wearing makeup all the time?
well, I think number one is being an experienced makeup artist where you are used to working with multiple products. You know what to use for the right environment, what's going to wear light, come across light. So that's something that is important to know going into it. And then, when you're working with the bride, it's a lot of those questions, asking kind of what they're used to wearing or not. And then kind of really being able to build that trust, talking through those points of, I know that this is what you're normally comfortable with. These are the alternatives that I have for that day that will still feel like,
Mhm.
that won't really feel like you're wearing a lot, but you photograph, again, just that expertise, of you photograph a couple shades lighter generally than you normally would see yourself as or portray behind the lens. So when you have things like this coming into play, you want to look like yourself. So if you're wearing nothing, you won't even look like yourself then, right? So
Right.
a little more cheeks or a little more lips or something, talking them through that. And there's still totally, I mean, a million options of approaches for wearing less, wearing little, and amazing array of items and products out there that can really look beautiful but still wear lightly and be,
Hmm.
and all of that. I think it's just really finding someone who is knowledgeable about all of that, and then being able to have those conversations to really communicate that.
Yeah.
um, you know Kind of tying this concept in, and then the last question, we're blessed with Zoom or FaceTime and things like that. I think you know 90% almost, in my opinion, of a positive experience for a bride and makeup or hair person is that connection.
Mhm.
um really being able to, me as the professional, give those recommendations and then have that time to build trust with the bride. So then, we sometimes know more of how to deliver what they're wanting or what they think they want more than they know how to ask for it. So it's,
Mhm.
that time and the connection is really important to be able to communicate those things. And then just having the knowledge, like hopefully those people who I'm just wearing chapstick and sunscreen are able to connect with individuals like myself where like I hear you and I think that that's wonderful. Here's some alternatives just for a little bit more, right?
Mhm.
Because you want to look still like yourself, you want to feel comfortable, that's number one, but you'll also appreciate the way you'll look in photos. So it's just that knowledge and experience. Yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, the photo thing is huge. It's so interesting because if you've ever been to like the theater from afar, someone looks natural and normal, but really up close, you're like, oh my gosh, they have so much makeup on, right? And it's kind of the same idea when you're being photographed. Like when we're doing photo shoots and things like that, and if we want something like that's super glamorous, like, a lot of the models are like, oh my gosh, I have so much makeup on my face, and they're used to it, right? So like this is what they do all the time. But at the end of the day, like it looks like a lot when you're right there, and like looking in the mirror, but from a photo, it doesn't look unnatural. It looks as it should, but just like you, but enhanced. So I think what Lauren's saying is absolutely on point. Okay, so let's talk about the other end of the spectrum, the people that are like really into makeup. Do you ever have a hard time with those brides like letting go of the reins? And what do you advise to those individuals who are like, I love makeup, I love to do it myself, I want someone else to do it on my wedding day? They may be a little opinionated. Like, how do you work with those brides, and what would you suggest to our listeners?
Yeah, I mean, I think what really this boils down to is communication through so many of these questions that you have for me. When you're if you are that sort of individual who has a very specific look that you're used to seeing and doing every day, or when you go out or on the weekends, I think it's really important to look at portfolio work. For me, my hair and my makeup that I portray through my website, my portfolio, Instagram is what I prefer to do. It's what
Mm.
I'm an expert at. It's what my vibe, right? And so, you're not going to see these huge lashes and all this makeup, like super layered, all this stuff, because that's not what I generally like to portray. I can do it, but that's not who I'm generally attracting. So while I will have some of those people, few and far between, I think what it really boils down to is that initial communication. The more that they talk and kind of let you know their expertise, or sorry, expectations. When I have my expertise to be able to meet that, then it's a great partnership. Sometimes I am talking through certain things, like, well, maybe we want to kind of switch things up. We don't want to do a really heavy lid and a really heavy lash and all of this because it's going to close your eyes in. So it's really about the artist and being able to communicate in their professional opinion, and really, again, like building that trust, building that communication, and asking the right questions. I think there's a time and a place for certain aspects of that. And at the end of the day, even if I personally think that something's a little heavy or too much, if the bride loves it, great. Like I'm
Mhm.
happy to go through those points. But at the end of the day, my goal is that my brides are happy with the outcome, and I've said my piece, sort of thing, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
giving them the recommendation. But I think, for those individuals, really just looking at that portfolio and finding sourcing the artist that you feel like really aligns with your end goal and what you're going for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, let's say that a bride decides to bring her hair and makeup artist with them, but then also has an entire wedding party that also, wants to get hair and makeup services, and they plan to hire a secondary team, if you will, there in the destination. How do you suggest, let's say it's you're the lead hair and makeup person who's handling the bride. How do you think it's best to work with a secondary team or whatever so that everything kind of looks cohesive? So you don't have like one person who's like super dewy and another person who's like over the top, and like you got like shellacked up dews on one and then like wavy flowy hair on another. Like, how do you suggest, or do you think, or does that even matter? Like, do you think each person can just show up as they want to and go from there?
I think in that regard, it's going to be, again, just communication. So this is kind of what I do when I'm working with my brides, is really like what you and I are doing, right? It's the interview process. It's learning who they are and what their vision is. And my job when they hire me is to bring that vision to life. So with that being said, if I were to be hired, let's say for the bride, and then she asks me the questions that you're asking, I would talk through kind of her envision, right? So first of all, do you care? Like to your point, all of those things, does that matter to you? For some people, let's say getting married in this stunning villa in Italy, and they have a very like formal dress, very structured hair, let's say like a polished like a very bright lip, like a very classic look. It's going to be really hard with their look if they have, and I would just say this, if you have a bridesmaid show up that has little to no makeup on, let's say like the three barrel waves, like your hair today, right? And they love it because they wear their hair like that all the time, but it just totally throws off the vibe. So I think it's important for the bride to work with creating that vision of what beauty looks like. There's a ton of brides nowadays, because I think things are so untraditional, that don't really have an opinion. So then that's again where my expertise comes in to bring those things to their attention, because a lot of times they haven't even thought through that. So asking those questions, what is your vision? What does the day look like to you? Do you care? Do you want to, are you doing a down style where you want everyone else's hair up? Does that matter to you? Does it matter to you that everyone's hair is half up in some way? Or, like just those questions where then we have amazing tools now, like Canva, so many websites you can quick throw together a mood board, you
Mm-hmm.
know, that bride could work with the wedding planner and or myself to convey, this is the couple makeup looks we're going for, and this is a couple ideas for hair, just so that there's like a framework, right,
Mm-hmm.
for the end goal. I personally think it really does matter, but I mean, especially at a destination wedding, you are spending money, you are spending time planning, you are being intentional with everything. So why not be intentional with how everything looks as well?
That's
So
so true. That's so true. Yeah. And you also have to think too, these are again the photos, and I don't want to like put too much emphasis on the photos. You're getting married, you're uniting with the person that you love most in this world. So it's about that. But when you look back at it, the photos, the video, that is what you are going to see. And so if you do, like Lauren's point, like everyone has a totally different vibe and style, and you've decided to like let people choose different bridesmaids gowns or different whatever, it can kind of start looking like not cohesive. And then when you look back at those photos, you can be like, oh wow, like, and to say that everyone has to have their hair up, no, like of course not, but there can have like a general vibe that you're going for that you kind of use as inspiration. So I am going to take a quick commercial break, but when we get back, you guys, we're talking all about the destination now. We're going to kind of move into the destination questions. So hang tight and we'll be right back.
Are you looking for the perfect vendors to help you perfect your wedding away? Well, look no further than destinationido.com. From our homepage, simply click Find a Vendor, choose your vendor type in your destination, and hit Go. From there, you can view the vendors available to you, learn a little bit more about them, view their past work, or even go directly to their website. So you can take the guesswork out of finding your perfect vendors. Go to destinationido.com/vendors.
Hey there, and we are back with Lauren Shea, and we are talking all things hair and makeup related. And now we're going to kind of switch gears and talk strictly about the destination. So, what tips and tricks do you have, Lauren, for brides who are getting married, like first part of the question, in like a hot, humid climate versus something cooler and maybe drier? What would you say as far as like their hair and makeup looks? Do you feel like they need to do anything to change it based on the climate?
I think it really, yes and no, depends. I think I always like to kind of use the phrase over communicate, kind of setting the expectations and really, creating that like time where we're able to work through what they're wanting. And then for me, I kind of set the expectation low so then I can like really deliver, if that makes sense. So when
Mhm.
it comes to environment, a lot of destination weddings are near the water, near the coast, near a beach where it is potentially humid, hot, wind. You have all the elements. And so just being mindful and challenging the bride when you like you know that they're at the end of the day not going to be happy. So
Mm.
for instance, a really classic style that's been super popular this year, timeless, all the things, is the Hollywood waves. I mean, I don't know how many people I've done that on, or certain down styles, and it's gorgeous and beautiful. But in all reality, I mean, unless you can prep the hair, I'm an expert in it. I flip hairs, models hair for the runway, one look to this look to this. We can do everything we can, but we really can only kind of preserve that look for so long. And so, then taking my expertise where, okay, let's do this look for the ceremony because that's what you really want. And then let's have me flip it for, a reception where then I can kind of tighten it up, maybe pin some up or like adjust a little bit. I think the biggest thing is that communication. I keep coming back to that this whole podcast so far, but really just setting those expectations, under promise and over deliver. That's like always my thing. So asking those questions and then really being able to utilize my expertise of like these products I use fight humidity. I'm going to set things a little differently. Things like that. And as far as like makeup and stuff goes too, if you're hiring a professional makeup artist who has a long time experience, a portfolio, all of these things for your wedding, they should know different types of primers, different skins, different setting sprays, like things like that to really be able to make that look last, regardless of whether you're in kind of a more challenging climate or not. They should be doing those things. So I think the biggest thing is just those questions. And we have amazing tools now with AI, Chat GPT, where I'll just throw that out there. I know some brides are just in the research phase, or they're like, I don't even know what questions to ask. You literally can type that in, questions to ask professional makeup artists for my destination wedding or hair or whatever. And just at least it gives you a framework to kind of start your conversation with. But I think just so many of those questions that you might have, make sure you're communicating that and that you feel comfortable with the plan that you decide on with that hair or makeup professional going into it, and kind of understanding that sometimes you might have a vision or a vibe, but you might need to tweak a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really necessarily think that there's a whole lot that can't be done. If for me, if my bride really wants something, I will again over promise. So I will, talk them down off all these things, but then I'll over deliver that. So if you're kind of setting their expectations lower and just talking them through, well, if it's windy, this and this could happen, or like just clarifying, then at the end result they'll be happy. And I've had brides where they got rained on, they got whatever happened, and they still looked really dang good, so it's about also that professional kind of knowing how to tweak what they need to for day of. And so I think, again, just lots of questions, lots of communication, and really developing that vibe or that look together, so that your end result makes you happy about what it looks like.
So true. And I also think, like, to your point about wind is going to be probably the trickiest thing. So if you do want those beachy waves or the Hollywood waves, and you're planning on getting married on a bluff overlooking the ocean that's like really windy, just think through that, because it could end up being like, I'm sorry, but my hair, no way, no way. I have a lot of hair, but I have very fine hair. So like it gets windblown quick, no matter how great the hair and makeup artist is. Like it is, I look like I've been through a tornado, like, or I just, got busy in the bushes or something. You know what I mean? Like it goes like south pretty quick. And so just think through those things. And, I definitely think just the communication, just to Lauren's point, like it really is very important. And I love the tip about the chat GPT and AI and like, because people sometimes, if they've never been married before, which most of our listeners have not, they've never done this. So this is, it's not like you don't know what you don't know, right? So to ask, I never even thought of that. Ask what you should ask. And, that'll help just kind of at least give you ideas of what potentially some issues you could come across that you may not even know could be an issue. So I love that. So now let's talk about the destination as far as how it factors into the overall look. So let's say, for example, someone's doing a beach destination wedding during the daytime. Should they have like a lighter hair and makeup application than someone who's doing like a nighttime wedding in an Italian villa? Like, or does it matter? Or should it be based on like what the dress looks like? What's your vibe? What's your feeling on that?
Yeah, so my favorite thing about weddings now is there is so much that's not traditional. So what, used to be 10, 15, 20, 40 years ago is just not quite the expectation now. So with that being said, I always ask the bride like what it is that they want. Truly, at the end of the day, if you really want to wear red lips in this more like structured dress, but you dreamed at, a destination wedding on the beach, then by all means do so. Obviously, yes, if you want something that's a little bit more fitting for the environment, totally bronzy, glowy, dewy, which is why I love, for me, that natural look that I kind of touched on the beginning, the just that glowy, healthy, dewy, it translates anywhere. It's
Yeah.
very timeless. And the thing that I love about that is a lot of brides and what's trending. You could probably help me more with that for when this started, but for sure is continuing into 2025 and ahead. From there is the multiple looks, right? So,
Mhm.
you might have a look for the wedding ceremony, and then if you're maybe that's on the beach, and then maybe you're moving up to a little bit more of a formal inside at the resort or something. You want to change it up. So then that's a great way to build in, maybe some more shadow color, a little more cheek, more bronze, or maybe we add some more lips. So it creates a different look where you're able to kind of see different options
Mhm.
throughout the night and you're not having to commit to something. I think just be mindful of what that looks like for you as a bride and what you want to convey. If you want a little versatility, or you're just committed to like the smoky eye, old Hollywood glam with a dark red lip, which is stunning and gorgeous and timeless by all means. But is that something that you want to commit to? Because you can't really flip flop. Once you got that nice red lip stain, you can't really change that to like something like you and I have on that's like nice and
Right.
glowing, a little more tricky. And so I think ultimately create what you want, create that vision, and kind of know that before you're going to talk with a professional and,
Hmm.
and ask them those questions, get their expertise. But I think at the end of the day, we're seeing so much variance with wedding dresses on the beach, at a villa, whatever have you. I think create the vision. And at the end of it, like I just love for my brides to feel beautiful, look beautiful, and just be happy with the end result. So that's kind of all that matters to me.
Yeah, that's so true. And honestly, I do think anything goes. I mean, what we're seeing now is, we see like really ethereal, soft looks
Yeah.
for the ceremony, and then some like, leggy short dress for the reception and like uber Hollywood glam. But I love the point you're making about building up versus taking away, because it
Yeah.
is a lot easier if you've got that glowy, dewy look to add a red lip and a bolder eye than it is to like take away the bold lip and the bold eye. Like you almost have to start over again, I'm assuming,
It's a
or
lot more
kind of.
challenging for sure. And or just the hairstyles too. If you're creating something that's really polished and really structured, sometimes if the professional hair artist isn't as, trained in versatility and being able to change that look, it's going to be a lot harder for them to pull, a very structured updo down into like soft tussled waves or curls for the reception. So just
Yeah.
really like asking all those questions and kind of really knowing what matters to you and what doesn't, and where you'd be willing to kind of give for the end result of overall being happy. So I think
So
it's
true.
talking point.
Yeah. And I want to talk to you about there's so many trends,
Yeah.
right? There's just, I feel like there's no end to, are the brows bushy? Are we going back to Gwen Stefani in like the early 2000s? Like, what are we doing here with the eyebrows? I don't know. Like, I'm just kind of like in between because I'm like, I don't.
Yeah.
So I would love to hear from you. Like, what do you see as being in or out when it comes to makeup? And then second to that, hair,
Yeah.
for weddings specifically.
Sure, absolutely. I think at my core, how I was raised and or who I am is being true to myself in all realms. And so I like to convey that for what I prefer. So with that being said, I feel like a lot of brides really um kind of regret following the trends.
Mhm.
So, to that point, don't do the crazy bushy eyebrows. Don't do the crazy big lips. Don't do the things that make you step out of your box to feel uncomfortable or feel like you're having to be something that you're not.
Mm.
I think the way that you are is how you are designed to be. And there's so many beautiful aspects. And if you're working with a professional, like you said, they'll be able to work with you to enhance where you're at. And you'll be so much happier with the long run, right? Like, how your makeup looks now is beautiful and timeless for years to come. And you're not like, oh my God, I can't believe that I did that. And to that point, here too, it's like, look, at the end of the day, there are trends all over the board. It might be, this last year was super like the center part where it was like tees behind with the Hollywood waves and it's all like tucked tight behind the ear. Well, I don't look good with a center part with my hair like slicked back, my ears are hanging out, and so it's like, don't go with the trends of what everyone else is doing and, sacrifice what could really look great on you. So
Mhm.
again, communication, talking with your professional, really being able to, I think, be comfortable within yourself and be happy with where you're at and just feeling more beautiful with where you're going instead of really trying to alter and change to everything. So I'm not someone who likes X, Y, and Z. So then don't do that. Even if it's the trend. I think the biggest regrets are people that, at least for clients and things that I work with, is the trends that they followed, whether it's the dress, whether it's the um makeup, the hair, whatever it is. There are amazing resources like you who create these beautiful things. This is what's coming. This is the vibe. This is the cool things to look forward to. But also don't get lost in all of the fluff. Like, really make your wedding your own, make it true to you. And I think that translates with hair and makeup for sure. No, don't do
Yeah.
something you're going to regret or doesn't feel like you. I have clients that'll I'll do the 3-barrel waving iron like your hair, and I love it, but then they're like, this is not. So it's trendy, it's beautiful, it's all over everywhere, but it
Right.
doesn't vibe with someone. The center parts, for God's sakes, I'm like, and at the all the things, it's like there's a lot of people that don't actually look good with a center part, and it's not enhancing, it's not your face shape, it's not. So again, just finding the professional and aligning with what's truly you. To that point too, I wanted to add in there, a negative that I see so much is a bride really accommodating what they want for the people around them, generally mothers, um, or a maid of honor or whatever have you. And then at the end of the day, they're not happy. So
Yeah.
a handful of times I've had to kind of step in, and it's uncomfortable for me sometimes, but I would rather be that person to do that. And it's just a challenge to the bride. Like, this should be, your one and only. Like, this should be everything you want it to be. So find the hair look, find the makeup look, find the dress, whatever that just lights you up, that makes, like, brings you to life and that you'll never forget. And that's really what I think you'll be happiest with in the long run.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I could not agree with you more. And I think too, like, yes, Lauren and I have been talking about like the less is more kind of, vibe when it comes to hair and makeup, but like what you're saying is basically, if you're not less is more, then don't be less is more. Like that doesn't have to be what you're doing. If you want all, if that's how you show up in the world and feel your best is with beautiful big eyelashes, then show up that way. That's exactly how you should be. And I think that's just it. We're still, I thought at some point we would progress out of a society where we're like, pressured into looking a certain way or being a certain size or having a certain eye color or hair color or skin color. Like I thought we were starting to progress into this, like, okay, everyone is accepted. And I think there's progression in some ways. But at the same time, I feel like if you are that person that is just identifies as a certain way and like that makes you feel the most beautiful, then you should feel the most beautiful that way. And no one should pressure you if it's a wedding party attendant, if it's a parent, if it's an aunt, just you be you. And that's exactly how it should be. And I think that it's kind of hard because we are like what you're saying about the middle part. Like, I think that was like a viral Gen Z thing. And I have a Gen Z. And I've been told multiple times that like I need a middle part. I look like ridiculous with the middle part. So I'm like, no, no. And as much as I look at other people who have a middle part, I'm like, you look great with it. I do not. And I've accepted about myself. You know what I mean? So it's like, I think just to take that pressure off ourselves that trends have to be what we show up as on our wedding day. No, like absolutely not. You can be you. So thank you for giving that permission to everyone and just,
Definitely authentic. I love saying.
yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So this is wonderful. I love it. Okay. Anything else you want to share? Because we are at the end of our episode. So are you like flying off to any great, amazing wedding destination soon?
I have a few things in the works for this next year, so excited about that for sure. I was just added on, as you mentioned in the earlier part of the podcast, to the Global Selected by team based out of it. They're an agency boutique based out of Milan. So they always have so many exciting things going on. We've got Fashion Week in February, again in April for bridals. I'm super stoked to work with designers. And what I love about that is really giving me insight to what's to come way ahead before brides even get it. When we're working in these environments, this is not something a typical makeup artist or hair artist would have exposure to, and we're creating the trends that will be coming out, right? And so I'm really excited about that. It's always fun, energizing, and just big designers, fashion, editorial stuff. Lots going on this next year. So
I love it. You're at it. I love it, Lauren. That's great. So all of you listening, you can follow Lauren Shea at laurensheaartistry.com. And then her Instagram and all her socials are laurenshea.artistry. And yeah, definitely follow her, check her out. She's got a beautiful portfolio, super talented. So thank you so much, Lauren, for sharing just this space today and giving us your tips and tricks.
thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Awesome. And if you want to follow Destination I Do, we are destinationIdo.com online. And then we are at Destination I Do on all the social platforms. We would love it if you rated this podcast, followed us, subscribed, all the things. And if you have an idea for an episode, I invite you to email all of us at info@destinationido.com. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.